Welcome to Thoughts Roundup. Thank you for coming on today and checking what we're doing. And I have a very, very, very special guest with me today who I love and appreciate very much, Brother Paul Paymer. Brother Paymer, so good to see you.
Well, it's good to see you, and I want to just say how much of a fan I am of this channel, and thanks Brother Marler for always doing such a good job to faithfully post and to talk to us, and I hope that today that you can drive and I'll talk.
I got you. I got you.
I want to say before we begin, or as we begin, this would be my opportunity to again thank Brother Marler for everything he's done for so many, but in this case, amazingly, it's crazy to think about it, but 27 years ago,
27 years,
when a 17-year-old kid from Ohio walked into Indiana Bible College, for some reason, you took an interest in me, and
I know why.
Well, and
because I saw in you.
Well, I can't tell you enough how much it meant to me. I could tell you stories that probably we shouldn't tell the whole story, but you'd come get me out of class and we'd go play golf. We'd go to Shapiro's. You'd tell me to run and get a preacher from the airport.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't tell it.
But most importantly, you watched out for me.
Do you remember how that sometimes I'd walk in and some of the students, ex-students, mention it to me, how that I'd walk in and say, "Let's all go to McDonald's."
Oh yeah, yeah. And I remember sometime we'd be in the office and cutting up, and Sister Marler would you just hear a voice in the door, the office next door. She'd say, "OC now."
Yeah, she kind of kept a little eye on me, did she?
Yeah, she did.
Boy, you're talking about missing somebody. I miss Joan so bad.
My goodness.
And but I want to thank you for being so good to Joan.
Well,
you were good to her. And don't stop me. I remember when you and Paul Price came to right out of Memphis.
Yep, Brother Sandy.
In Brother Sandy's part of the country there, and y'all took us, and mostly you took Joan and bought her things in the store, and she never forgot that. Oh. She never forgot it. You know, you just have been so kind, and also my granddaughter, Ashton, you were so kind to her when she was coming in the church, and you paid her way to camps and things of that nature, and she got saved, and she is very saved. She just lives for the Lord every day, and she loves and appreciates y'all so very much.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. She's if she's a Marler, she's family to me.
Well, and that I remember. I think of it often now that you showed up to the wedding. To the funeral. Pardon me. And had such nice things to say. Fact is, that's still online. Awesome. The funeral service is still online because that was in the middle of COVID, and we couldn't just open it up to everyone. But y'all braved the storm and came in and was with us, and it meant so very, very much to us. You think we're talking loud enough?
I think so. You got the state-of-the-art microphone right there.
The other day, I did one and I don't know if anybody, they may not have fussed about it being so low. They might not listen. But anyway, we've got our coffee here, and we're sitting in one of the most beautiful homes on such a beautiful location. This is Brother Paymer's home. You know, I saw your dad. I enjoyed seeing your dad, and I'd like to have seen your grandfather.
Yeah.
Boy, you come from a long line of apostolic preachers.
Yeah, I'm fortunate, and not only, of course, you know my dad and my grandfather, but you knew my other grandfather.
Oh yes,
And
the Dysons.
Yeah. I told Brooke today that Brother Marler is one of the last few people, not in my family, but one of the last few people on earth that I know that knew my grandfather.
Right.
That's not in my family. And so that I remember, I'll never forget that, because you told me stories when I was in Bible college about him.
Yeah.
And about his books that he wrote. And, and
Actions are weighed.
Yes.
You know, there was Brother Jason Calhoun in Texas. In what part of Texas is he? Brother Jason, he'll laugh at me forgetting this if he ever hears it, because he's so busy. He may never hear it, but Texarkana.
Okay.
There was a Assembly of God preacher walked into his church and found his way to his office and said, "I am looking for a book."
Wow.
And he said, "Well, what is it? And how would I help you?" Well, he said, "It's written by one of your preachers." Wow. And he said, "Its actions are weighed."
Wow.
And we helped him acquire a copy of that. Actions are weighed. It was very good. And of course, I knew the other Dysons, John, and of course that goes on into one of the greatest Christians I know there.
Yes, C.M. Beckton
and his son.
Ronnie Beckton.
Ronnie Beckton and Cheryl, they're two of the greatest Christians that
they're gold.
You know, how could you not live for God, just surrounded by all these people that are so honest and love God and so forth?
Well, we've been so fortunate to be able to be connected to so many in our family that are in the ministry, and have had just dynamic apostolic ministries. And
your mother wrote books.
Mm-hmm. She sure did. Did.
I'd forgotten about that. Yeah. Is any of those books still?
Oh yeah, and not only is she her last few efforts have been curriculums, apostolic curriculums for children, and she's done really well with her curriculums on 10 doctrines for kids, where she takes 10 doctrines that are seminal to the apostolic faith and presents them in creative ways with songs and jingles and lessons.
She's just sharp.
Yeah, she does great.
She's just sharp, and she's a sharp lady. Well, is there anything we don't want to miss? Is there something we're talking whatever we want, but is there something that we should talk about? Is that?
Well, I want to say the reason you're here is, of course, you went and helped with the dedication weekend at Brian and Tammy Smithson's church.
Right.
And so want to give them honor. There was a bunch from our church that was there.
Oh, yeah.
At the dedication, and just a beautiful building right on the freeway.
Oh, it is.
And I want to thank you for your influence in Brother Smithson's life, and he loves you so much. You mentioned the service. He brought his whole family and his wife and children.
That's
and
right.
They were at the service. At
the service, he was a pallbearer.
Mm-hmm. And he just thinks the world of you.
Yeah, I love them. You know, he was in the 4th grade. I was pastor of the church there in Nashville on Trinity Lane, and he was the school that we had, and then he came on up to Bible school after I was.
Wow.
He grew up and got to Bible school, and you helped me so much with home mission. What was it called?
MSA?
MSA.
Yes.
Yes. And you helped me so much, and I believe Brian did.
Yes.
I know also Brian helped with helping me keep my books straight and ready to travel and that
Sure.
sort of thing, and all. But you were such a good the way you organized things and kept things going, and people had a feeling for you. Leaders are they're not made; they're born. That don't mean you can't be a leader if you study and try hard at it, but to really be the leader that like we're talking about, you have to be a born leader, I believe. And that's why you have your pastor such a wonderful church here. You couldn't have accepted this church if you didn't have the goods.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, but I know that I told somebody just within the last couple of weeks that one of the most important decisions that I ever made in my life was coming to Indiana Bible College. Our church was not in the UPC,
Right.
and so I didn't know as many people. I didn't know any of y'all, and there certainly are a lot of good groups, but when I came to IBC and kind of started my journey in United Pentecostal Church, it changed my ministry, and IBC was that doorway, and I will never forget it.
Did you know IBC was one place where all people met?
Yeah.
You didn't know, unless you happen to know the families or something, you didn't know where they were independent or whether they were ALJC or what they were, just Christians,
Yeah.
It's good. If you're going to live for God, it's good to be a Christian.
Some people do that, I've heard, but not all of them. I have to tell one quick MSA story. You might not even remember this, but back when you and I were doing MSA, we got it cooking. I mean, we were sending 6 and 7 trips a weekend, and we're sending these poor kids, we're sending them 200-300 miles on it.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we had sent one on a midweek, and we were getting a little bit of heat from the school, from not your office, but the other offices.
Yeah.
That all these preachers are coming back late at night, and they said you can't be doing this anymore. And so they told me we were going this 2 or 3 hours to this guy, and they said, call and cancel that guy. We can't go on a Wednesday. So I called and canceled him. Well, buddy, he called me back. I have never been talked to like that preacher talked to me. He just gave me the what for. I'm going to be out of town and you cancel me. You can't, just blistered me. Well, buddy, I came in and I remember I met with you and Brother Mooney.
Yeah.
This guy was so mad at me that you and Brother Mooney and you two just sat there and laughed. You said, that's just how preachers are. And I remember Brother Mooney saying, well, you learned something you probably won't learn in Brother Marler's class. And that's and I'll never forget, though, in all seriousness, you told me, you said, Brother Paymer, here's what you do. You go preach for the guy. He said, you told me, Paul, I want you to go and take your best team and do him right.
Mm-hmm.
Where you could have said, you tell him, deal with it. Mm-hmm. You told me to go do it. And I had to get my spirit right,
yeah.
and which was probably the best lesson for me. But I'll never forget that I remember the words that you and Brother Mooney said that day, and you sent me myself on a Wednesday night to go preach for that gentleman, and I'll never forget it because it was a right
afraid to
thing.
just send anybody.
All right, there's no telling. But no, I remember that, and I actually since then have developed a friendship with that guy.
Is that right?
Yeah, and so I'm glad that wasn't my last
and
experience.
y'all have something to discuss and talk
Yeah.
about. Something.
Well, I've never brought it up to him.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if he knows that I'm the guy that he yelled at, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, this is so nice to get to just chat with you a little
it's
bit,
an honor.
and it seemed like when we get together, it all kind of goes back to those days, and all wasn't it a time?
Yeah, oh yeah.
It was just a good time, and we used to come in the office and just sit for a while and talk,
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being on with me, and I appreciate you picking me up today and having something good to eat. And it's been so nice to see your wife and your children.
Yeah.
That little one, Marler?
Marlowe.
Marlo. Well, I'm going to tell you what, just a year?
Yeah.
Boy, she acts like she's 2 years old. Come on. I hadn't been here over 5 minutes. I saw she run this whole.
You got the whole story now. That's it.
She runs it. Well, I love you an awful lot, and thank you for all you've done for us, and thank you for remembering. I will say one thing. The stories that you tell, I know they're right. Some of the students add to them.
Not me.
No,
Not
I
me.
know you don't. You don't. See, every once in a while they tell me something, and I don't remember it, and I just know it. It couldn't have happened just like
Yeah,
that.
it couldn't have happened just like that.
Just like that. But that's one good thing about the alumni. You get to make up the truth if you know how.
Well, thank you for letting me come on, and I so appreciate you and your ministry and investing in me.
Thank you.
And I'll never forget the last thing you told me when I left IBC. We were standing at Calvary, and this is what you said. You said, "Brother Paymer, don't ever put anything ahead of preaching."
That's right.
And I hope that I can always say that I never did.
Well, I never heard of you doing it. I never. Let me tell one little story that comes to my mind. Do you remember the time the boys? I paid the boys. I got some furniture,
Oh, of course.
and I paid I got it at auction, and it was nice stuff, and I paid more for it than I could afford, and I paid this boy to go and pick it up, and I told him, I said, really, now tie it all down real good. And so I was at home, and I got a call from this boy, and he said, "Brother Marler, your furniture is scattered all up and down the freeway." I said, "Did you?" I said, "Are you all right?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Well, we can buy new furniture, but if you're okay, that's all that matters." Of course, I was mad as I could be, but that's what I said. And so I saw him a few years ago, and he said, "Brother Martin, you remember me?" I said, "No, I don't." I said, "You look familiar." He said, "I'm the man that destroyed your furniture up and down is it 385? What is it?
465.
465. And he said, "Brother Martin, I want to tell you, the way you handle that
Wow.
has set the pattern for my life."
Oh, my goodness.
He said, "I always think of it and treat everybody just like you treated me."
Wow.
And I thought, well, you don't ever know
Wow.
what's done.
What a story.
Yeah, I knew you'd remember. God bless you. Thank you for listening.
God bless.